Hey there, and welcome back to the Gilded Bubble. This is Carrie, and today I'm redesigning a soap that I call the green stuff, and you're going to see why in a second. But of course, I have it upside down. Good job, Carrie. Snake Island Green from Mad Micas, and that's the only color I'm using. It's got the green stuff in it. Ha ha. And my scent is actually a custom blend that I do. It has cucumber, basil, mint, and lime in it. Are you catching on why I call this the green stuff? Yes, that's because all of the scents in it are green. I'm also, instead of using my sodium hydroxide solution, instead of using water, is actually using aloe. I actually substitute 100% of my water with aloe. And I do work at a water discount. Aloe for me has not seemed to affect my trace at all. I'm going to get a batter here that comes out exactly like I wanted it to. The benefit here, of course, is that I'm remaking a soap I've already done. So in this instance, I have a known entity. Both of my scents that I mixed together to get to this point also don't accelerate my trace. There's no ricing, no discoloration. So I'm going to get a really true green color out of these. And I'm going to do this in pointy layers. So you're going to see me do that technique, which I have now, I wouldn't say perfected, but improved upon. If you've seen any of my other pointy layer soaps, this one actually comes out a little bit better. But what I'm going to do with that green is, you can see here, this is actually my darkest color, and that is just pure Snake Island green. I've used, I think, a teaspoon per pound of oils here. Might even be a half teaspoon, because I'm seeing I have my half teaspoon measure there, so that might have been what I did. But basically what I'm doing is I'm going with pure Snake Island green for the bottom layer. Then you'll notice in there, those little spots you see are titanium dioxide. And that's going to be my next layer. I went with a little less Snake Island and then put just a smidge of titanium dioxide in it. The next one's going to be quite a bit of titanium dioxide, probably about 50-50 actually, of the two colors. And then my last layer is going to be mostly TD with just a smidgen of that Snake Island, which is a really powerful color, so you don't need a lot. It goes pretty far. But I do think, I'm going to redesign this one yet again. I think I'm going to go back to a more yellowy green. This one's a little blue. So if I'm going to call it the green stuff, it should be really green, right? So I think when I do this again, I probably won't use Snake Island. I'll probably use either Evergreen from Brambleberry or 3 Olive Martini from Mad Micas. They're pretty similar colors, but I think the Evergreen one's just a smidge darker, so I'll probably go with that. You see, I mixed my fragrance. I did that off camera because that's not a proprietary blend, but I want to keep some secrets between myself. But I did tell you the notes that are in it, and it's my absolute favorite scent that I use. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Bath and Body Works Cucumber Melon, but it's not as sweet. It's just a little bit lighter and fresher, and I think that's because of the notes of lime and mint that are in it. And it's a little deeper smelling as well because of the basil that's in it. But I really love it, so that's why I'm using it. I'm going to add a little bit to each layer here, and I don't really let them set up, but it will firm up just a smidge while I am preparing this next layer, and that'll allow me to get those pointy layers rather than getting a drop swirl. The other thing that's going to help with that is pouring closer to the layer underneath it, and a technique I learned from Terry with Creamery Soapworks is to start moving your pitcher before you start before the batter starts coming out. And of course, in true Carrie fashion, you'll notice I'm pouring off camera. I think I fix it here in a sec, but I'm going to apologize for that. There you go, girl. Come on. I'm not a total disaster today. But in my future videos, I've gotten a little bit better at making sure that I stay within the frame a little bit better. So you have that to look forward to. But yeah, this is just pure Snake Island green from Mad Micas. It's a beautiful color. But like I said, it's a little more on the teal side, a little more turquoise than I really wanted. So I think I'm going to go a little more true greenish shade when I make this again. There goes my head with my hair badly needing to be dyed. And so there, you notice I don't let it sit very long. I am stirring that off camera, but really I'm just incorporating the scent. Um, my table is so messy from all the oil on it. I always wipe down before and after, but in between soaping, I always end up with rings like that because my pitchers, you put oil in them and then sit down and so you sit them down and they get oil on the. There I go. See, look. And I did not start moving it before the batter started coming out, which is why I have that one gloop. Do you see how nice and light those pores are sitting on top of that batter? That means I'm going to get that pointy layer. And then here in a second, I'm going to lift it up and let a little bit more come out. And then that's going to pour through that and create those points. So I do it real carefully here, and I have really nice points. You'll see this when I cut it. It just turns out so good. I love it. I absolutely love it. This is my favorite soap. But the last time I made it, if I can find a photo, because it was early in my soaping days, if I can find a photo of it, I'll throw that in here because I did a gradient pour, and since I sell most of my soap online, it just didn't show very well. People who smelled it in person loved it, though, so the scent is good. I just need to redesign it a little bit. So that's why I came up with the pointy layers. And you'll notice here that I'm using the spatula to break the fall. That's because I don't want to end up with a drop swirl or kind of like a U shape in my layers. I want to keep those points. So I've already made the points with that little bit I was pouring at a time. So now I can just use my spatula to break the fall. And that was me trying to get in the corner there and just cover up that bottom layer entirely. And then I can kind of shake it, beat it down and get that layer to sit a little more level. But I'm going to go ahead and scrape everything out of the bowl because I'm not coming back to this pitcher. I'm going to leave my top the lightest color. So I don't need anything to do a swirl with or anything like that. So it's time to clean the heck out of that pitcher because we don't want any leftover soap. Although I think I left a little much in that pitcher, if I do say so myself, to myself. Getting better at not being as messy. You see that there? I cleaned it up, left it on the table. But hey, what are you going to do? Hey, pouring in the scent off camera. Although to be fair, I did crop this in. So when I filmed it, that would have been on camera. So some behind the scenes tips. Now see, I've added more titanium dioxide to this. So it's lighter than that layer I just did. Oh good, smear it right through the soap that was sitting there. Good job. I like how I give myself critique while I'm doing this. I can't help it. It's the teacher in me. So on this next layer, again, I'm going to pour really close and really lightly just to start off because I'm doing, again, those points. So what you're trying to do is kind of just barely break through it. If I wanted a flat layer or even a textured layer, I'd do it a little bit differently. But in the instance of this one, I just want to barely break through with little tiny points rather than big globs of it. And then I'll start pouring it a little heavier. And then I'm going to get my spatula so that I don't totally break through it because if you're pouring a lot of batter at once, it's going to displace it. That's just physics. You're not going to be able to get around that. So this just helps to break the fall. Oh, look at that. Wah, wah. And yes, I did spill, but watch this. I'm gonna clean it up. So I get that off of there and finish scraping out this pitcher for this layer. And then I go to actually I think this layer or maybe the top layer is my favorite color in the whole thing because it starts to look like the color of cucumber melon body lotion from Bath and Body Works. It starts to have that color. Right now it just looks like, I just love green. Green's one of my favorite colors. If you ever look at my soaps, you should know what my two favorite colors are because I use them all the time, but not usually together. And then here's my absolute last layer, which I saved. I didn't blend that together before. You can barely see this off camera. But because I knew I was adding so much titanium dioxide to this layer, I didn't want to do it sooner because that will set up faster. So I waited until I was pretty much all done. So I'm scraping out my main pitcher into a smaller one. That little tiny bit of it that you can see. But you can also see I'm going to need to stick blend that TD in because I use water dispersible TD. Actually, I don't even remember if I do stick blend it. I may just blend it pretty hard by hand. But again, I don't want to blend that sooner than I did right here because, like I said, it will start to set up really fast. So, here, I grabbed one of my spatulas that had a little more green on it just to add a smidge more green. I didn't want to get the jar back out, and I didn't want to run the risk of having specks in that layer because it would have really showed up because it's so light. So I grabbed the spatula out of one of my darker layers If only you could see it. It's really pretty when that. There I go. Good God, woman. She doesn't listen. It's because you can't time travel and go back and fix it. If I would, I could. Wait, if I could, I would. Yeah. But again, now on this one, I've got a little, my batter's starting to thicken up, so I'm going to pour a little heavier. But you'll notice too, it does affect my layers a little, but I'm using what I learned from my honeysuckle soap. If you haven't watched that video, I will link it in the cards or in the description, or maybe both. But that I can poke through that and create the kind of like the impression of a pointy layer, even though I wasn't using the technique properly, because look at how quickly that set up. So this layer's been sitting as long as those other ones were, right? Because I mixed my main batter all together at the same time. And then the second I put that TD in there, man, it just starts going. But that's okay. It really does turn out. Wait till you see the cut on this one. It's just so cute. I love gradient soaps. I love pointy layer soaps. I love green. This is just, and it's my favorite scent. It's just my favorite soap. Have I said that before? I'm probably going to start like, this is my favorite. No, this is my favorite. But I do love this one. And I have I have a favorite of my cat soaps too. That's coming up? No, I don't think I got a video of that one. I will at some point. And look at that. It's all smooth. All right. So I'm going to put it into this frame so I don't get any bowing, because you know me, I love to overfill those molds. Shout out to my husband for making that for me. I'm going to press that down into there, let that sit for 24 hours, clean up this dirty table, and you'll be back to see the cut real quick in 3, 2, and with some movie magic, it is now 24 hours later, and I have unmolded, I'm actually going to unmold it here on camera, my green stuff. I love watching. Actually love the feeling of that even more. Now see here, it looks really, really green around the edges. And you'll notice when I cut it, there's a little bit of yellowing, but that's going to mellow back out. And that is going to come back to that nice, pretty dark turquoise that it was. But that's just because I got partial gel. So I don't C-pop my soaps, mostly because I don't actually want another step, but also I don't have a problem with partial gel. It does not bother me. I found it tends to mellow itself out when I'm all done. Now see on that one, you can see my pointy layers are all wonky. The ends of my soap always are almost straight like that, because you just can't quite get the drop swirl or even the pointy layer or anything else quite kind of in the edge. Also, I've noticed too at this angle, it looks like I'm cutting those bigger, but I've actually marked 1/2 inch and 1 inch lines on there. Now see, that first layer, because it was a lot more liquid, the points are a little bit bigger. But you'll see as I go through this bar, or this loaf, that, that the points become a little more prominent as well. You'll also notice I'm still using a cheese slicer here because my multi-bar cutter is still broken and I need to fix it. Maybe I'll film that, how I fix it. There, those are starting to look better. But yeah, right now it looks really gross with that yellow. But you're gonna, when you see the photographed, finished, cured soap, you'll really like it. It won't have that yellowy. It looks like it's like something that's really old and yellowed. But that's gonna go away. Yay! Look at that. Yeah, now that I'm like 3 bars in, those points are gonna come out really well. Still not perfect, still not exact all the way through, but I love this soap. There's a great one. I love how it turned out. And the smell, chef's kiss, delicious. I love it. One day I'll show my face on camera, and then you can actually see me do the chef's kiss thing. Mostly, I don't care about showing my face on camera. It's mostly that I don't want to put on makeup, and I don't want to do my hair. And I'm usually sweaty and gross when I'm making soap. So, I don't know. I'm really vain like that, I guess. The nice thing about cutting single bar at a time, it's a little more dramatic seeing each individual piece. But I do want to fix that multi-bar cutter because it does just such nice, even. There's I did like a St. Patrick's Day soap that's coming up, and when I cut it, it's a little bit of a crooked cut just because I'm not real great. I need to tighten the wire on this cheese slicer too. And also I think I made my lines a little crooked, but that's fine. It does still cut a pretty neat, so you saw that one slide. It still does cut a pretty neat bar, though. I can't complain too much. So props to Katie over at Royalty Soaps for suggesting this, because that's what a money saver, really. I mean, if you're going to just, the only advantage to having an actual soap cutter would be that you have a way of lining up. See, those are really straight. You'd have a way of lining it up a little bit better, but I just literally took out a tape measure and drew these, but you can see they're a little slanty. But that's okay. We're going to deal with that. We're all right. So let's look at the final photo shoot. If you enjoy watching me make soap and or making a fool of myself, please be sure to subscribe to my channel. Or if you just like this video and don't ever want to hear me talk again, just like it, please. Or, leave a comment, that's good too. Or, hey, just watch it, share it with your friends, whatever you feel like doing. I will be back next week with another wonderful soap making video. Thanks for watching.